What's up, guys? One Younger here from Gold Canyon Gaming, bringing you guys one of the first of many One Piece deck profiles. Today we're going to go profile a little bit a deck that is kind of under the radar. We're going to profile my Doflamingo list that I used to go undefeated at a local box tournament. It was like 30-ish players. I think Doflamingo is one of the best decks in the format, and although there's been an influx of Doflamingo decks that have been revealed lately from other content creators, mine is more of a unique twist on it. So let's just go on to the deck profile. So obviously, Doflamingo leader. And then, first card, we're just going to go in order from costs. Obviously, we play the 4 Perona. One of the best cards in the deck. Obviously, if you don't know what Doflamingo does, has a unique effect where if you attach 2 Dawn to him and swing, you could on swing pay 1 to look at the top card of your deck. If it's a 7 Warlords or a character that's 4 costs or less, you can play it to your field rested. But to make sure that you're kind of, cheating it out and knowing what's always on the top of your deck, Perona's going to get you there. Perona obviously is just good because it lets you able to plan turns in advance. Just really the normal explanation of the card. It's just pretty solid. Another obvious card here, obviously we play the 4 Law. Just a very solid card. 1 cost blocker, and you can loop it back multiple times with some of the other cards in the deck. For 2 costs, we only play 2. I only want to play 1 2 cost. The 4 Alita. It's just a 2K counter. You almost never ever actually play the card, but I mean, it's just 2K counter. Obviously, you gotta play it. And then in the same line of playing 1 2 drop, you're gonna play 1 3 drop, which is this the 4 cost Doflamingo blocker or the 4K Doflamingo blocker. Same effect as Perona, where you could on play look at the top cards, top 5 cards of your deck, and rearrange. It's also a blocker, so it's just nice to be able to reset the top 5 cards in a pinch. Essentially, in your opening hand, you always want to see either this or the Perona, but obviously you see them, you're good. And now to the bread and butter of the deck. So obviously, since Doflamingo could get 4 costs or lower the Warlords, we play a ton of 4 costs to maximize the value. The first one is Teach. This is at the same time the best and the worst card that you play that's a target for Doflamingo. It's worse than the others because it does less and less later the game goes on, but it's an absolute blowout against red and green if you could see it on the first swing of Doflamingo, because if they summon a Kiku or a Robin and you bounce it back with Teach, you're kind of just win the game on spot because your tempo is just insane. I considered going less numbers of this, but the opportunity to auto win like 25% of your games is just worth playing the 4. We play 4 Boa. Solid card to either play it off the Doflamingo or even play it from your hand. She's a blocker, so obviously that's very, very good. But the 1 Dawn to draw a card on attack or block comes up a lot. So it's just good to keep your tempo just going. And then one of the cards that I see a lot of people playing lately is this Kuma. I wasn't sold on this card at the beginning. I didn't think it was that good. But the more I play tested, the more I realized it is just nuts. That people are correct playing this card. But one thing I don't think people are correct are doing is they're playing the 6K Pacifista. So essentially what this card does is that it's a blocker, but on KO. So if your opponent kills it, you can play a Pacifista from your hand. And there's 2 options for Pacifistas you could play. And people are playing the 6K vanilla, and I think that's wrong. I think this blocker is way better. So the reason why I think the blocker is way better is because it essentially makes your Kumas like a double blocker essentially. And in the late game, your passive if you block with the thing and bring out the Pacifista, and your opponent could just kill you from there, it's just no point. But if you bring out the blocker Pacifista, you're able to survive a turn. Another common thing is if your opponent plays the 10 cost Kaido to clear your board, and you have the Kuma up. And you can't kill him on the next turn. The blocker is always going to be better because it gives you an opportunity just to survive the turn. It's just better. The 1K less is almost irrelevant. So I think it's always better to play the blocker. And then the other 4 drops, Mihawk. You really don't want to play him off the top of your deck with the Doflamingo. You'd rather have it for the 2K counter, but he does come up. Able to hand fix if you have too many 4 costs in your hand. With his swing, draw 2, pitch 2. And then the final 4 drop we play is the best 4 drop in the deck, Gecko Moria. This card is absolutely insane for multiple reasons. Obviously, it's really insane to play at the top of your deck to be able to just salvage a character from your discard pile to your hand. whether it be like, you know, a 2K blocker in Doflamingo, whether it be your 1-cost blocker laws, or whether it be anything else. It's just really insane advantage. But it's also really good to draw in your hand for late game, because once you're 8 mana, you could simply just play Gecko Moria and grab like a Akuma or a Boa and be able to play it. So essentially, like for 1 card, you get 2 cards worth of advantage, which lets you to keep your hand full to like block big swings late game. And it's just super solid. I'd play 6 of this if I could, but obviously 4. So the deck itself, before we get to the high cost cards, is that how the deck should be played. Essentially, is that you want to keep, it's a tempo deck from the start. You just want to out tempo your opponents. You always want to make sure you keep board control. But essentially, later in the game, the powerful decks like green and purple have a lot of late game bombs for you. So you need to have your bomb. You need to have bombs to answer their bombs. So in the late game, it's very important to have a considerable good number of late game cards. So going on to that, is that one thing that people don't do is maximize out on this, and I think it's very foolish not to do so. The 7-cost Doflamingo is just a game ender against most decks, right? Because essentially, like the thing that most decks need to do to get back into the game against blue is to play like a king, or play like the 7-cost kid, or play any of these big bombs. And like if you just have the Doflamingo to answer their card, you just win the game on spot, because it's such a huge tempo swing when they need to play like a suboptimal like card that isn't going to do anything to actually answer the board, and you just like bounce it back to Doflamingo with the 7-cost. It's like a 13 mana swing and advantage. It's just insane. Obviously, like this card, I think is just the best card in the deck. And also another thing too is that it being a 7-cost is very, very important, because like your leader effect needs 3 mana to actually activate his effect. So having you be able to go play this for 7 and then actually use Doflamingo's effect for 3 makes the 10 mana or 10 Dawn. It's very efficient in use of mana. So on the same lines, we do play another 7-cost in the deck. We play 2 of this Crocodile. Honestly, the card isn't that good. I mean, like its Dawn effect is like, it's okay because you play your events for like 1 cost less, and its banish is okay if you're trying to swing, because your opponent will get that card from their life. But the reason why I play it is because it's just a 7 mana card with a counter on it. Because like obviously for maxing out on the Doflamingo, no counter. You just want more counters in your hand. And so this is there in a pinch to actually save your leader from lethal damage. It's not like the worst, not the best, but I think it's the best the set currently has available for it in the 7 mana slot, because you want to play 6 7s. And then the final character in the deck is we play 2 of the 9-cost Mihawk. The reason why I'm playing 2 of the Mihawk instead of like 4 and not playing this is because like while the Mihawk is great because it's the 9K and it bottom decks the cards that it bounces in the hand, the bottom deck versus bounce in the hand doesn't really come up. It kind of does the same thing in terms of just like a tempo play, but it's still definitely strong enough to play the 9 at 9 for 9K. But again, you can't really use like you kind of spend your entire turn playing it. 2 is fine. It's kind of just like it's like your game like ender, and you have so much time to get to it. You have so many time. You have so much deck manipulation to get to it. And you're really never like playing more than 1, and you're definitely not playing more than 2 in a game. So it's fine there, and you don't really want to see this early as well. And the final card of the deck, a lot of people play a lot of different events. They're playing like the 1-cost events, and like some people are even playing like Sables. I do think it's all bad. I think the only good event in the deck is the Love of Mellow. Fantastic. Like it's just standard 4K counter, but like the draw effect comes up so much. And it's just a very solid card to play. But I don't think there's much value playing the other events, at least not at this point. Overall, I think the deck's very solid. And, like, obviously it's a little bit dependent on seeing, like, Perona or the 3-cost Doflamingo early. But, like, you just have so much more tempo value. You're always, winning advantage and card advantage against these decks. You have really good matches pretty much across the board. And, yeah, I definitely think that not only is it a meta contender, it's up there for argument for best deck in the format. But, yeah. I think that's just for the deck profile. Yeah, I mean, like, we'll see what goes forward in the meta. But going into the Treasure Cup format, we're playing the same meta game since the start deck is illegal, I would heavily consider playing purple for the upcoming competitive season. Anyway, that's it for me. Subscribe to GCG for more content, and we'll see you guys later.